Hey, this is Jeff Cutler. I'm speaking with RSands, and this is a piece for the IT Knowledge Exchange and my blog, Jeff Cutler's Keys to Security. Rich, tell us a little bit about your background in IT and really your experience in that world.
Sure, thanks, Jeff. I'm actually a consultant. I am helping software companies with their developer strategy. But prior to that, I was with Sun Microsystems for quite a number of years and had a number of different marketing and product management roles. Most prominently, I worked on the Java platform and helped Sun with open sourcing Java. That's really where my experience lies. I've been mostly with vendors, but certainly have talked to a lot of customers over my time, and helped a lot of companies figure out their developer strategy. And a piece of that is, of course, software security.
Well, that must give you a great perspective because some of the questions I want to ask today refer to how important it is that a company have the right people and they allow the right access to data or facilities or even information, especially on a developer end. You might not want a developer working within the operating systems of a big company, especially if they're trying to create something that will then be an add-on or then will be a new solution for that product.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's vitally important that you give access to the right people so that they can do their jobs, and you make it easy for them to gain access to the data and to the software that they need in order to accomplish their mission. So, if you're a software developer and you need access to the source code for the application, that has to be really simple and straightforward to get to. But at the same time, you don't necessarily want programmers to have access to all of the production data. For instance, that could be behind a different set of security credentials, and it's very important that you compartmentalize the different pieces of your IT infrastructure so that the right people are accessing the right stuff at the right times.
I'm switching gears a little. I gave you a few of these questions earlier, but following along this train of thought, how important is it for the IT team and other C-level executives or developer groups have good communication between teams just to figure out who belongs where? I mean, communication's going to be top, right?
Well, it's vitally important not just for security, but just to get the job done. But in terms of security, there's this movement now in the IT enterprise world to bring the IT operations team and the developer team much closer together. And this whole approach called DevOps is really taking the enterprise by storm, and it's a great way to allow much more agile development, much more rapid deployment of software. But in order to make that work, the IT operations folks have to trust the developers, and the developers have to work with the IT operations folks so that everyone has a clear vision of how the security needs to work, how the different layers need to be implemented, and who needs to have access to what.
Do you think that's where security and IT in the enterprise is headed, this whole collaboration?
Well, I think that's part of what's going on, and I think another big piece of what's going on is the advent of cloud deployments. So as more enterprise applications are being deployed to both private and public clouds or hybrid deployments, it's bringing a lot more resources actually to bear to secure data. So in a cloud deployment, you've got infrastructure software that is easily used in the cloud that's had hundreds, if not thousands, of developers and customers who've actually used that software and have looked it over with a fine-tooth comb. And this is also where open source comes in. Most of the cloud infrastructure is based on open source, and all of those developers who are working on software infrastructure products that get used in the cloud, those developers have access to the source code and can vet that code and determine whether or not it's really secure. So there's this old adage in the open source world, more eyes mean more security. And I really think that's true.
I was going to follow up right with that and just say, should people be a little more comfortable because you have this series of checks and balances through all these developer eyes and IT team eyes, and everyone's working together, hopefully towards a common goal. So it sounds like that's where we're headed.
Yeah, I really think that's true, and having the cloud deployments and the open source infrastructure, I think, is a big piece of that, and also the infrastructure that you get around security, things like OAuth and other open federated authentication systems. They can bring an added level of security because they've been used in so many different environments and have had so many different people look them over.
Perfect. This has been fantastic. How would people find you if they wanted to look you up and maybe make your consultant life a little more rich?
Well, so the easy way to find me is at rsandsconsulting.com. RSands consulting. That's all one word. And you can go on the site, see my blog and the kind of work that I do. And there's a contact form right there. Or alternatively, just send mail to rich@rsandsconsulting.com.
Perfect. Thanks very much for your time, Rich.
Thank you, Jeff.